Hello and welcome, everyone. It's great to have you with us today. My name is Kathy Leibowitz, and I serve as the current chair of the RAC Communications Subcommittee. On behalf of our colleagues on the subcommittee, welcome to the May 2023 RAND meeting. As usual, we have a few notes and details to go over as we get started. We are recording the meeting. The presentation and slides will be posted online. This is a Zoom webinar, which means you're in watch mode. Chat is disabled. Please use the Q&A feature to submit questions, and we will do our best to answer them during the meeting. Live captioning is also available. We acknowledge that the university is located on the territory of the Anishinaabe people. We also acknowledge the sovereignty of tribal lands, and we reaffirm contemporary and ancestral Anishinaabeg ties to this land, as well as the profound contributions of Native Americans to this institution. So our agenda for today, we have a feature presentation from RAC Metrics and updates from our central offices. Community kudos go out to Julie Olivero and the 2023 OVPR Staff Recognition Awardees. Congratulations all. Good job. And we look forward to great things from you. Things we have in store for you. We have a few things we're working on. Planning is underway for our next several virtual networking sessions. Stay tuned. Announcements will be forthcoming via the normal channels, Slack, RAP, and the RAC email chains. We also have more 21 questions in store on Slack, both individual interviews and general posts to the entire RA community. To generate dialogue. We hope that you will participate. It really is fun. And now I am delighted to introduce our colleague, Jennifer Huntington, who is a Research Administration Senior Manager at the Institute for Social Research. Jennifer will be our MC today and also our lead presenter. Jennifer recently celebrated her first year at ISR and 16 years with the University of Michigan. She has been the chair of the RAC Metrics Subcommittee since fall 2020 and an active member of the RAC DEI work group. Her family recently grew with the addition of an adorable Corgi mini Aussie puppy, Xena, who has become a great little sister to first grader Maddie. The household felines, Buttercup and Rue, are not sure about all the barking, and yet they're cool with their new sib too. So you might have noticed a quote on one of the earlier slides. Ben Franklin is reported to have said, "The best investment is in the tools of one's own trade." And with that in mind, I'm turning things over to Jennifer.
Great. Thank you, Kathy, for that nice introduction of my little fur family. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the RAC Metrics update. So yes, I'm here to give you an overview of the role of the RAC Metrics Subcommittee on campus, including some demonstrations of the data tools that we assist the research community with. And as a little background, I really did grow my understanding of these tools while part of the committee. So I joined with a very basic understanding of running business objects reports, and mReports was definitely my favorite tool. But I joined without being a subject expert, because I was more interested in the role and impact that data has on decision-making, and then I grew, obviously, in my role. So to start, I'd just like to share the charge of the RAC Metrics Subcommittee that has been defined. So the RAC Metrics Subcommittee aspires to assist those interested in research administration data by enabling them to acquire the information desired to meet their strategic and operational data needs. So the group seeks to accomplish this by helping others know where to locate reporting resources, how to use those resources, and by advocating for the best possible availability and experience with the related tools and data sets. So listed here, we have our current committee membership. And much like the rest of the RAC subcommittees, we do try to have a broad membership across the schools, colleges, institutes, and campuses. So if you'll remember back in October 2022, the RAC subcommittee survey was mentioned at that RAND meeting. So we launched the survey in November and it was open for about a month. We wanted to do a quick shout out to the 98 people in our community that took those 5 to 10 minutes to respond to the survey, which really helps drive the future work of the RAC subcommittees. And RACmetrics has reviewed our results, and we're here today. Well, I'm here today to share more about our work. So for the RACmetrics overview, there were three main themes that we pulled out relevant to RACmetrics from the survey results. First, that business objects reports are the most relevant to a majority of respondents. Second, the current and pending other support report is also very relevant, but possibly not as broadly used, which makes sense to me because it's just one report within a tool. And then we also see an opportunity to partner with RAC training and RAC communications. So this presentation is one of those partnerships working with the RAC communication subcommittee that organizes and hosts these wonderful RAN meetings. So for the RACmetrics survey results. So here we have a visualization of the relevance of RACmetrics tools. What we're interested in continuing to explore as a community is the space highlighted here with an arrow where maybe people responded that they needed more information or were unsure. So this really shows us where more information is going to be needed and that we can fill a gap. So for those that indicated that they need more information, we asked about the modes of receiving that information. Email communication was a clear winner. I'm sure that's good for documentation. We certainly hope that the email we sent out back in February 2020 was useful, but how many people can really remember an email from that long ago? So the information from that email is available online, and I'm going to feature that on the next slide as a resource. As we add more resources, we'll continue to reach out through emails to the community. Training sessions and RAN were the other high responses. So here I am to present more about our work. We'll have a poll near the end of this presentation to ask about training sessions in more detail so we can address more modes of providing information. So as I mentioned on that last slide, when I'm discussing the email that was sent back in February 2022, this web page was created to support our email communication. You can access it through ORSP's website. Just go under the Tools and Resources tab. So this website also contains snippets of information about the tools that I'm going to demonstrate today. So the first tool that we have to show is the mReports report library. This is a list of curated reports from multiple reporting tools. So that includes Business Objects and Tableau. The individual reports are available to anyone with the appropriate ORS access for the data that is being pulled. So we created the list for research administrators as a useful one-stop shop for accessing reports relevant to their role. So we have a quick demo of how to access the mReports report library and drill down to the research administration list.
Welcome to this brief demonstration showing how to access the mReports report library. The report library provides one location where you may find a catalog of reports, visualizations, and other data tools that are directly linked to those specific resources. To begin, you will need to open a web browser and go to wolverineaccess.umich.edu. If you are not already logged into your University of Michigan account, you will need to click Sign In and enter your unique name and Kerberos password. Once you are logged into Wolverine Access, use the search bar to look for M-Reports and press the Enter key or click the magnifying glass icon. We recommend using the Report Library shortcut to access the library directly. If you would like to add a shortcut to your favorites in Wolverine Access, click the star icon in the bottom right corner of that shortcut. You may also use the mReports shortcut, and once you are in mReports, hover over the My mReports menu and select Report Library. In the Report Library, you may filter the business process by research administration, to produce a list displaying reports, visualizations, and other data resources that are applicable to research administration. Clicking on the hyperlinked title for each result will bring you directly into that report, visualization, or tool. Please be advised that Business Objects and Tableau have separate access authorization requirements. Please contact your unit liaison to determine what is needed for you to gain access to these systems. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that you find the mReports report library to be a valuable resource in your role as a research administrator. As a reminder, the report library provides one location where you may find a catalog of reports, visualizations, and other data tools that are directly linked to those resources.
Okay, great. So that was the mReports report library. So now we're going to talk about business objects reports. So business objects is just one of our classic and most important tools, in my opinion. Recently got an upgrade to more of a tile look. So there are two collections of reports that are relevant to research administrators, and both collections are linked in the mReports report library. So the U of M maintained folder, which has the research subfolder underneath, is managed by ORSP, and the unit maintained folder with the research administration subfolder is managed by the RAC Metrics subcommittee. So both collections contain reports that will pull information from e-research, payroll, financial aid, and all other financial transactions. So now I'm going to do a quick demonstration of the current and pending other support report that was created by the RAC Metrics subcommittee. And I have some quick notes about this report before we start the demo. So this information is a download from the data warehouse, so it requires that you and the PI review the information for accuracy before you transfer it to the sponsors' forms. So these are formatted similar to the sponsors' reports for ease of transitioning the information, but these will not meet the sponsors' requirements for the documents. So please follow the instructions from the sponsor when completing these. All right, we'll launch our demo. Rearrange my windows. Now remember, you can access this report through mReports report library more directly, but I am going to show you how to get to it from the Business Objects homepage. So once you log into Business Objects through Wolverine Access, you'll see your home screen once it pops up, which is customizable to add your favorite reports and folders. You can see the section of favorites there. And then I'll show you how to update those favorites. And then you'll also see that there are recent documents listed, and that those recent documents are all the reports that you've recently used. So it's a quick access. So to get to the research administration folder, you're first going to click on the folders tile, then go to public folders. Here you'll see this is where you can access either the unit maintained or the U of M maintained folders. It's worth noting that the user shared folder at the bottom is being phased out. So this is where we used to house reports that RAC Metrics maintained, but we moved that due to the change to the user shared. So we're going to drill down into the unit maintained folder in order to access the research administration folder. So you can mark this folder as favorite by clicking the ellipsis or three dots on the right. And make that your favorite, mark it as a favorite. And then once you're in the folder, you can do it the same way with a specific report. So clicking here, you add that report as a favorite. That'll show up on your home screen for you. So now we're going to look at the current and pending report. So once you click a report, it's automatically going to open to the first piece of that report. In this case, we have an about page portion so that you can see exactly what the purpose, prompts, results, effort that'll pull in, all of that that's on the report. It's a very helpful piece of information. So to run this query, you're going to click the circular arrow here under the word query, which opens a prompt window where you can enter the parameters you want to set in the report. So first, you're going to enter the person's unique name. In this case, we're going to use my information. And then under roles, if you click the refresh icon at the top, it's going to reload the list of available values to choose from. And since we're running the report on my information, we're going to select this administrative contact right at the top. So then for the award date greater than, we're going to enter today's date in order to capture all currently active projects. If you'd like to include historical data, you'll need to include a date that is before the end date of those awards. So now we'll run the report. And you'll see a little error message pop up at the bottom because I'm not a PI, so I'm not going to have ERPM effort. But you'll see that in the reports, we'll show you where you can see that information where it would show up for PIs. So the first report you'll see is the NIH Other Support. So you can see a list of pending projects that I'm an administrative contact on. So these reports will run with pending at the top. So just keep that in mind. You can see the effort table area to the right of that, where there's a text box where it lists the path information. This would be where you would see the comments on the PI effort. And then you would have to manually enter that into the sponsors forms. So if we go to the top again at the NSF current and pending, so it'll be the exact same report, just in a slightly different format to align more with what NSF looks for. The BioSketch report, if you click that at the top, it's gonna spit out all of your active projects in a format that should be entered in the BioSketch. So you can kind of just copy and paste that over, again, requiring that you're reviewing this information for accuracy. So the Excel export tab is pretty self-explanatory, but this is probably the most useful for being able to just download, sort the information that you need. Like if you wanted your active at the top and pending further below. Either way, I think this is probably the most comprehensive piece of this report. So now I'll show you how to download this. So up here at the top with this arrow, the flat line, this is where you download your report. And once you click this, you're going to have the option on what format do you want to download it in? Do you want it in Excel, PDF, etc.? And then you can click the reports that are the ones that you want to download. You can either download all the reports or just skip to what you need. So what I like is that if you're doing like an NSF current and pending, you can just select the NSF current and pending report, and that's the only download that you would see. We're not going to run the export on this because that's all it does is show you how to that it's going to download. So that was just a quick demo about running a business objects report. So we can go back to our slides now. So that was a very brief demonstration of using business objects. So I do want to highlight another website through ITS about the latest business objects upgrade. So there are videos from the webinars hosted by ITS that was leading up to this upgrade. But under the documentation resources, there is an e-learning course that covers the basics of using the tool, such as running, exporting, organizing, scheduling, and formatting these reports. So even if you've taken this course previously, it provides a good introduction to the upgraded environment. So if you went about it a certain way before with the old environment, there might be a different way to go about it moving forward. All right, now we'll move to Tableau visualizations. So these were first published with the intent to help units explore trends in research administration. These visualizations are a great way to summarize and present information to others, like leadership. So I used to utilize Tableau more when I was in my previous role at the business school. This is where I would source some of the tables I used in presentations and meetings with the Associate Dean for Research. We have another quick demonstration to show you how to get to the RAC Metrics Tableau reports and show the proposal submission counts report.
Welcome to this brief demonstration showing some introductory information about Tableau visualizations related to research administration. The Tableau visualizations provide standard aggregated metrics that can be filtered to focus on the performance of your school, college, or unit. The visualizations can be useful to address questions about trends or activity from unit leadership. To begin, you'll need to log into Wolverine Access. Use the search bar to look for Tableau and press the Enter key or click the magnifying glass icon. If you would like to add a shortcut to your favorites in Wolverine Access, click the star icon on the bottom right-hand corner of that shortcut. Please note that you may need to submit an access request with your unit liaison to gain access to the data underlying the Tableau visualizations. In Tableau, you will see a list of project folders. Scroll down until you find RAC Metrics and click that project folder. We recommend that you select the Table of Contents view to see all of the available visualizations. Each visualization in the Table of Contents contains a reason for use, the data warehouse universe from which the visualization is sourced, and the refresh frequency. Please note that PM in the Access column denotes Proposal Management Universe. The FN in the Access column denotes the Financials Universe. Further information about gaining access to the reports may be found in the footer of the Table of Contents. Hovering over the arrow icon for each visualization will show any recent changes made to that visualization. Clicking either the report name or the arrow icon will bring you into that visualization in a new browser tab. Across the top banner of each visualization is its name, as well as an information icon, a question mark icon, and a home icon. The information icon displays general information, the source of the data for the visualization, and the filters that may be applied to that visualization. The question mark icon displays information about how to perform various tasks in the visualization, including saving your own view of the data. The home icon will open the Table of Contents in a new browser tab. In our example of proposal submission counts, as well as many other RAC metrics visualizations, it is possible to use the University of Michigan department reporting hierarchy to filter the results by various organizational levels. The department reporting hierarchy allows for filtering by many department groupings, such as department group at a high level, as well as divisions, centers, or programs at lower levels. It is even possible to filter the data in the visualizations by department ID if that is desired. For the proposal submission counts visualizations, it is also possible to filter by fiscal year start and end. Other RAC metrics visualizations may have other filters based upon the intended use of the data. Once you have applied the desired filters, you may save that view as a custom version for future use. Click the View Original icon in the Tableau toolbar above the visualization toward the left side. Enter a name for your custom view and indicate whether you would like to make this your default and/or make the view visible to others. When you come back to the visualization, click the View icon to see your list of custom views as well as the original view. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that you find the Tableau visualizations to be a valuable resource in your role as a research administrator. The Tableau visualizations provide standard aggregated metrics that can be filtered to focus on the performance of your school, college, or unit. The visualizations can be useful to address questions about trends or activity from unit leadership.
Okay, great. I warned you going into this that there was going to be a Zoom poll. So we are interested in getting more detail about what training sessions might be helpful. I'm going to read the questions that we would like more information about before the poll is launched. So first, please let us know which of the following topics would you like more information about? and please feel free to select all that apply. And then second, please let us know which modes of learning are helpful. And again, you can feel free to indicate as many modes as you'd like. So go ahead and launch the poll and give everyone about a minute or so to answer. Okay, great, thank you. We'll take this feedback and use that for moving forward for the RAC Metrics Committee. Right. So, do you still need more information? Please reach out. Feel free to reach out to us when you have questions or concerns about the research administration tools for metrics. Please feel free to email us at RAC, so RAAC.metrics.support@umich.edu. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction or come up with solutions in our committee. You can submit questions on Slack when you think they might be useful for others to reference, or maybe gather a range of answers across campus. We had a great ask recently about the account detail report, and we were able to get that out in in Business Objects for easy access in the matter of just a couple of days. So that is my update for RAC Metrics. Yes, we do have a little bit of time, so I'm going to address some of the questions that came through. So one question was, there used to be an effort distribution tab on the previous current and pending report. And it is no longer on the new report because it requires a different level of access. And it has to do with the HR data access. So we kept them separate for that reason. You should be able to still access the old report if that was a piece that was very helpful for you. And then what access do you need to request in order to use the current and pending projects report in Business Objects? And that has to do with the proposal system. So you don't necessarily, I think I answered that incorrectly and at first, but it is actually a proposal management system. So another access question, so the PI effort as entered in the path and how that generates into this OS report. So that is pulling from the text boxes when you enter PI effort. And what that's doing is pulling in that piece where you're entering like calendar months, and then you're using that information to load in future year effort into the other support. Let's see. And then, I think that is most of the questions. We can follow up directly on any of the other access questions or more specific questions directly. All right. So thank you. And with that, I am actually going to turn this over to the nice calm voice that you heard in some of our demonstrations, Chris DeVries.
Thanks, Jennifer. And thanks everyone for joining today. Before we get started on the RAC update, I did want to specifically recognize Chris Allen for all of his work in this. He, as most of you know, typically likes to be behind the scenes, which I appreciate myself a lot, because sometimes that's where I like to be as well. But I have to say that what you've seen Jennifer present, none of that would be here without Chris's persistence and his willingness to make this all happen. That includes the efforts that he put in with going out to units on campus. Some of you may remember that. Again, I think it was about 2014, 2015, to really gather thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and even constructive feedback in terms of the visualizations that we were planning. So I would be remiss if we didn't mention Chris in this meeting, because again, without his efforts in his continued work on the RAC Metrics subcommittee, and we mentioned Slack. Chris Allen was one who sort of took that and ran with it. And so again, I just wanted to make sure that we give Chris the recognition that he deserves, and he elected not to share or present today, and that's completely fine. But again, I wanted to make sure that we recognize that. So thank you very much, Chris. All right. A few updates from RAC. So the first update comes from the RAC chairs, and this is something that we've mentioned in a couple different venues. So for some of you, this may be redundant information. Patrick Lagoa from the School of Dentistry has elected to step down from the RAC training chair role as of July 1st. But Patrick has still agreed to stay on the RAC training subcommittee. Right now, for those who don't know, the RAC chairs serve a 2-year term with the possibility of adding another 2-year term after that. Patrick is already through his first 2-year term and already into the second, but has expressed a desire to rotate off, and that's completely fine. And we really appreciate that he's agreed to stay on afterwards to kind of help with some of those projects that he's initiated or that he's helped the training subcommittee to initiate. Part of this is us conducting a broad search for a successor, as well as implementing an idea that we've had over the last couple years of having a co-chair on each of the RAC subcommittees. This is, since I have a little bit of time, I'll sort of share this verbally. This is a pilot, but it's not a pilot in the sense of, at the end of it, we'll decide whether or not we're going to go through with this. The pilot is really more to see how things are working, make any tweaks along the way before we start implementing this with the other RAC subcommittees. As an aside as well, this is all in preparation. The RAC chairs have been discussing how we make the RAC membership process more transparent and more easily accessible to all of you, with some parameters around process, the process for that, not the process subcommittee, in terms of working with your school and college, your supervisor, that kind of thing. So the chairs are really working to put more detail around that, but this chair search is a more immediate need. We're going to have more information. We will send out a broad solicitation email to the RAC subcommittee or the RAC committees, all the subcommittees and the executive committee and the committee at large. And we'll ask that those folks forward that information on, and we'll also post that information on Slack. If you have any candidates that you know of or you'd like to nominate yourself, you may certainly reach out to me. My email address is here. I would also say that if you have any questions, you should also reach out to me, and we could talk about how that materializes in terms of getting questions. I'd also be happy to facilitate some time with you and Patrick Lagoa to understand from his perspective what that experience is like. So more information to come, and again, we'll have hopefully more on the membership process at subsequent RAN meetings. I did want to mention, in our opening slides, which I will share as soon as I'm done with my update, we talked about the Incura National meeting. One of the things that is possible is to get a bulk discount if we have the discount levels that you can see on the slides here, either 5 or more or 10 or more registrants. This does have to be sort of coordinated from a central level, or not a central level, it just needs to be coordinated so that there's one payment to Incura, but you can see the benefits here, and that is if we get 5 or more registrants, everyone gets 10% off the meeting registration and then $20 off a year of Incura dues. And it's similarly at a 10 or more level, the 10% discount, but $40 off a year of Incura dues. We're going to be sending more information about this. We're still working out the details in terms of collecting the information. We also need to make sure that we have department approvals in terms of whether the folks who have indicated that have the approval of their supervisor to go to the conference, and then also that the short code or other financial information that they provide is accurate. So we'll work that out, and we'll certainly send more information, likely via email and Slack, but we will be sure to let you know. I did want to follow up on the April 2023 virtual networking session that RAC Communications held. We focused on GSRA appointments, graduate student research assistants, and as at that session and subsequent to that session, we had tried to get Academic Human Resources, UHR, to give us some more information at this meeting. Because of a lot of things that are going on with UHR at this point, the timing just did not work out. But they did ask that we, again, share the graduate student website, which has more information about GSRA appointments on it. As I was looking through this yesterday, I don't know that it may address all of the questions. And so we still have on our list to follow back up with academic HR to see what we can do in terms of different ways or opportunities to get you all information on GSRA appointments. So I just wanted to follow up that. A quick update from the RAC DEI work group. We're planning a June newsletter, and so that is something that the group is working on. So look for that as we get into the month of June. You should feel free to reach out to rac.dei.help@umich.edu. And if you'd like to subscribe to that newsletter, we will certainly add you to the distribution list. In response to the RAC survey, as with the other groups, we are really focusing on what those results indicated and how we can help with that. One of the things that came up as a high need among the respondents was resources and tools related to inclusive hiring practices. We're really starting with an effort to sort of catalog some behavioral-based interview questions. We're in the very early stages of this, but I am really excited because I think the folks that we have on this group have actually used a lot of these practices in their own hiring. So we kind of have some really good case studies or sort of testimonials, if you will, in terms of how these have worked. And those are things that we are planning to share with the RA community as we get them together. Don't forget to join us on Slack. We're growing that community, as we've mentioned a couple times, especially in terms of RAC metrics, but I don't want to limit it to RAC metrics. We are always happy to answer questions, connect you with someone, and do whatever we can to make sure that we're building that community and it's useful for you and informative as well. That's all I have for my update. I will turn it over to Carolyn Pappas for the ITS update. Carolyn?
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. I am here to give you an update on some recent changes to eResearch proposal management. So if you've been in there since Monday, you have probably noticed some changes. I'm going to go through a couple of them that I think are important to point out. First of all, we had a change to the sponsor information page on the PAF or the CTRF, and we'll go through those slides in a second so you can see what that looks like. We've also added some additional details on the awards to the sub-Ks tab. This is really for people who have a lot of sub-Ks to manage on an award, and I know it gets cumbersome. You didn't really have a way to sort them or filter them. And then lastly, as a minor enhancement, I just wanted to point out about the that's on the award ACR tab. So let's start with the sponsor information. So when you create a new PAF, or if you are editing a PAF that was already created, you're going to see a new question on the sponsor information page. When you click add or edit sponsor, the new question relates to, is a sponsor a U.S. federal government entity? And we are doing this to add sponsor codes. So those are the codes that are kept in sponsored programs, the mPathways financials, to the PAF, which will give us some future capability to give you specific sponsor information in the PAF where we could display something for a certain sponsor. So if you select yes, you're then given a new chooser where you would search for a U.S. federal sponsor. And we've tried to put them in there in a way so it's easy to find. So in this particular field, you could start with a wildcard first, like a % side, and then the name of the sponsor. You can also try the 3-digit sponsor name. So if it's NIH or NSF, those are pretty easy to find, and you can just enter them. There's always an opportunity, if you don't know the sponsor code, you'll see there's a checkbox underneath there that you can just say you can't find it, and when it gets to ORSP, they will add it for you. So on this screen, you'll see that I've showed the direct sponsors for a handful of federal sponsors. If you can't find it by searching, you can always open up the ellipses and then you get the full list of them. One thing I should probably note that each sponsor has two codes, one for the direct and one for the prime. And when you answer yes for direct or yes for prime, and you select one of those, we're only giving you the list of direct sponsors. And if you're searching for a prime, you're only going to see the list of prime sponsors. And the prime sponsors at the very end of the name, like under that official name column, have the word sub-K on it. And that's how we differentiate the two. But generally, you can pretty much ignore that. So as I said, you can use a wild card and an acronym. And then, oh, Chris, if you just want to go back one slide, sorry. There's also short names and codes. So all of them are spelled out on the ORSP website. Thank you. Next slide. And then this is a reminder, you're always going to see a smart form, a validation rule to ensure that the new question is answered. So again, any paths that are coming back to you, you're going to have to go in and respond to this question. And then lastly here, I have one more screenshot here. When you add a new proposal sponsor, you select the role, you answer the question, and then you fill it in and you're done. If you say no, I think that's on my next slide. Sorry, one more slide. Sorry. I think we're jumping around here. Okay, so if you say yes, you go ahead and you add in your sponsor and you hit OK and you're done. I think I need one more. I'll just talk through this one. If you say no, it looks the same as it does today. You select no, and then you type in the name of the sponsor and you're all set and you don't have to do anything different. So remember that includes all private sponsors and all foundations and anything that isn't US federal. And we have lots of resources on this. So we sent this out on Monday. We have an updated job aid that's on the ITS website. We have a really short video to show you how to do that if you're a visual learner. As I mentioned, we have all the US federal entities compiled on a list and lots of instructions on the ORSP's website. And then we have our release notes, which has all of this information compiled for you. So that's the biggest thing. And now I'm going to go on to a couple of other small things to point out. So in the last release, we had released this an updated tab where if you go to the award, on the award or the award change request, you can see a mod ACR tab. And we've since added documents there. So really to help people from having to jump around in the system. This release, we went and we added in supporting documents. So all the supporting documents that have been uploaded to an award will display on this. They only display if something's in the set. So if nothing's there, you won't see anything in there. You won't see this line at all. So that's just a helpful navigation tip. And then lastly, we have added one additional thing. So for those of you in the med school who work on the CTSU questions, we've updated those. They're now consolidated to the MCTSU and the OCTSU, so down from 7 offices to 2. And then this last thing I wanted to mention, this caught a few people, and I want to make sure that no one else gets caught in this, or you have a UFA that's stuck. So if you had a UFA sent back to you from ORSP and you had to go into the first page and make a change, let's say you were changing the category, and then it was in the state of project team making changes. When you went ahead and submitted it back to ORSP, it wasn't going back to them. It was staying in project team making changes. We've heard from many of you through help desk tickets, so we fixed them. We've also run a query, but if for some reason you have a UFA that is stuck there, please submit a help desk ticket and we will get it unstuck for you. And thank you. unless there are any questions, I am now going to turn it over to Christy Becken.
Thank you, Carolyn. I'm covering for Deb Talley today, so we only have a few updates for sponsor programs. First update is the 2002 single audit is complete. There are 2 findings, all related to COVID, so it's nothing that needs to be done from the research community. Our 2023 single audit is already underway. We had our interest meeting yesterday. We won't, this 2023 audit doesn't have the research and development component part of it. That was in last year's audit. So I don't think this would even be impactful to you all. In regards to equipment, we want to thank you all for helping us identify and locate all of the equipment. It was a good blessings for property control. We do want to remind you all there's an e-learning module that's on the screen that will help you with moving, disposing, or just all the best practices with equipment. Now, isn't it awesome that the area I cover, closeouts, is the one that I'm presenting on today? So the one thing I want you to resonate with this number on the screen is not just the volume, but all these closeouts that are not inactivated in a timely manner, there's always the potential that those charges could belong on another project. So we are always looking for your partnership, your collaboration to help get those inactivated so that if they do belong on another project, we're billing them on a timely manner, that we are making sure that the sponsor reports, whether they're 425s or sponsor forms, U of M financial reports, are accurately submitted. It is very difficult once those reports are submitted to kind of go back and ask for a revision. So if you have closeouts that you know, hey, I thought this should be done, or you want us to really focus on them, please reach out to me or any of the supervisors and we'll help you get those where the number is. I don't know that it's ever going to be 0, but if we could get it as close to that, that's what we're striving for. And so my last update is about our new people that started with sponsor programs. So we have Claire Light, who is doing the uniform guidance reports, and 3 new people who just started actually Monday, Robert Barker, Lynn Zhang, and Tayasha Poole. So if you start seeing their names on uniform guidance or FSRs, financial status reports, please know that they're going through training, and starting June 12th, you will start seeing stuff come through the new temps. Okay, so that's all for me. Now I'll turn it over to Andrea Anderson. Thank you.
Okay, so just as my usual kickoff goes, this is a researcher from Temple University who has been recognized for her research in the area of Asian American Pacific Islander Health Scientific Interest Group by NIH. She's co-chairing that group and conducts research among underserved and vulnerable racial and ethnic minority populations. Given that it's Asian American Heritage Month, we wanted to kind of highlight a researcher in that area. Next slide, please. So some NIH updates. NIH is transitioning some of their terminology to better align with uniform guidance. So they are changing the name of their formal announcements for availability of federal funding to notice of funding opportunity. That is a change away from funding opportunity announcements. And you can see the NIH grants and funding glossary for the full definition. This is effective immediately. So when you see things labeled NOFOs out there, that's what they are. It's just a replacement for the FOA. Not a huge deal, no other details changing, just kind of a renaming, rebranding. We also wanted to give you a quick reminder about NIH carry forward prior approval. We are seeing that NIH is taking a very hard line on prior approval for carry forward requests on projects where there is not automatic carry forward. So please remember, when you don't have automatic carry forward, you need to obtain approval for spending those funds prior to actually spending the carry forward funds. NIH is denying expenses that are incurred before the approval is received. So we just want you to be aware that might be a little bit of a change from the past, but NIH is getting much stricter about that. Next slide, thank you. So the NSF account management system is expanding. They are now including reviewers. They have a self-managed profile in research.gov. They'll use their unique NSF ID for all business throughout their research career. So that follows you from institution to institution. So reviewers now have access in this portal as well, in addition to the PIs, graduate fellows, and administrative officials. NSF has also added a new gender response option in the self-managed profile to allow for unspecified or other gender identity. So it is no longer binary. They're allowing that additional option for people to identify. Next slide, please. NSF Virtual Grants Conference is coming up. We just wanted to give you a quick reminder. This is free. The registration opened May 10th, and the conference runs June 5th through the 8th. It is virtual, so you don't have to travel to attend. We just want to make sure that you're all aware, because there's probably going to be some great resources and information shared. Next slide. Related to Carolyn's ITS updates, there are some ORSP resources available for research administrators and project teams to note on the new requirement of entering your federal sponsor code. ORSP's website has a table of the complete list of short names for the federal sponsors in the Route and Submit section, link provided here. And of course, an example of one of the NIH sponsor codes. This link is located in ERPM. I think Carolyn demonstrated that, and ORSP will still validate those codes when they come to us to make sure that they've been entered correctly. We're not going to kick it back to you to fix it if the code is wrong. We are going to just simply correct it at our end and move forward. Next slide, please. Also wanted to give you a reminder about NIH annual RPPRs. So the slide's not as specific, but this is really targeted to NIH annual RPPRs. Something for you to be aware of. Your interim and final RPPRs are being handled by your project representative assigned to your file. However, NIH annual RPPRs that are submitted through ORSP are handled by the support staff team in our office. And so typically you will receive a reminder from someone on that team letting you know that the annual RPPR is coming due. Typically we're sending it to you a month or more in advance. And they will tell you in that reminder who to route it to, both in NIH's ERA Commons as well as within ERPM. Annual RPPRs are submitted via posted comment rather than ACR. There is not an ACR type for annual RPPRs. This is a deviation from our normal process, so it can cause confusion. But we want to remind you that we would really like to get those 2 weeks before the due date, because there's often back and forth with corrections that need to be made before it can be submitted. And we also really want to stress that the person that's named in that reminder that comes to you is the person you should be routing it to. If it's routed to someone else, it might not get seen as quickly as it would if it went to the person who's assigned to handle your annual RPPR. So please just pay attention to those reminders and make sure that you're contacting the named support staff that's been listed in that reminder. Next slide. On the home front, here's our cute spring squirrel. So some staff updates. We have a lot. ORSP has been very busy the last few months with hiring and departures. Neil Carver, some of you may know him. He was the internal training manager for ORSP. He has accepted a new position with the Research Development Office in OVPR and left us in early April. So that position is currently vacant, and we're exploring ways we might reshape it before we post it. Raymond Clucky has also departed our office. He is now working in innovation partnerships on the Corporate Research Alliances team. And Caitlin Jost is now in the Export Controls Office within OVPR. And we're really happy for all of them. Great growth opportunities. Of course, that means there's going to be some new faces on the various teams in ORSP. I also wanted to make note of the fact that Linda Chadwick retired in April. We just want to show appreciation and gratitude to her for her leadership role, not only at ORSP, but throughout the research administration enterprise. She had roles in, I believe, LSA and engineering prior to joining ORSP. So many of you may have known her either through her work in our office or through other offices. We are currently interviewing for 3 private team PR positions and 1 government team PR position. We're getting to the close of that interview process and hoping to have some new faces hired soon. Next slide. So some of the new people who have already joined our team. Jeff Albert might be a familiar face from the past. He has returned as a Boomerang employee to ORSP and joined the private sponsors Blue Team, which supports engineering and natural sciences, reporting to Emily Baxter. Jelly French Gilmore has joined our support staff team, reporting to Tracy Schwab. Austin Hogg has joined our government sponsors team, reporting to Daniela Marcelletta. And Elena Tarrier has joined our private sponsors team, the Maze team, reporting to Joe Johnson. They support the health sciences for the private team. And a couple of internal promotions within our office. Kelly Buss is now the managing PR on the government sponsors team, assistant managing PR, I apologize. She is replacing Ryan Langton's position. Ryan has kind of shifted some of his duties to help us with some big software implementations that we have going on and some other large projects. So Kelly is taking over the supervision of that team in the assistant managing PR role. And Joe Johnson has also been promoted, replacing Tony Nielsen as the assistant managing project representative on the private sponsors Maze team. So for those of you who knew Tony, he retired in February, and Joe has successfully applied and been selected for that position. So just a quick reminder on the structure. This is our government sponsors team with the change in leadership on that team, and just kind of a rundown of who reports where. Next slide, please. And on our private team, same thing with the changes, just a rundown of who reports where among the PRs and the assistant managers. Next slide, please. Since we have run I believe the NSF herd numbers since our last meeting, just wanted to give you a broad overview of our volumes, our annual volumes. For FY22, our office processed 7,500, a little over 7,500 proposals, 2,700 awards, and over 2,000 unfunded agreements. Next slide. And OVPR has asked us to provide you a few updates from them as well. So we're going to have kind of a new segment probably in our slides going forward. Vision 2034. So Dr. Cunningham sent out a VPR update recently, and there should be a survey link you can find in there to respond about your vision for the research enterprise here at U of M come 2034. So they are doing a kind of 10-year out visioning project, trying to figure out where the institution, where all of the constituents of the research community see us in 10 years. So that then I believe strategic planning tends to roll out from that. So this is a wonderful opportunity to give input into what that plan looks like. So we would encourage you to go ahead and fill out that survey and send in your thoughts. Next slide. We also wanted to remind you, this was sent out in a wrap recently, that there is a new email for questions related to a publication restriction AAR. The ovpr.pub.restriction.status@umich.edu, that is a mouthful, is the new email address for that. OVPR has individuals staffing that email, monitoring it for questions and responding to those questions. Please note that this email address is only for publication restriction AAR questions. Other types of AARs, this is going to be the wrong group to be asking those questions of. Most of them don't require OVPR involvement aside from this one. And so for more information on the other types of AARs and who you might be asking questions of, you can go to our website listed here. Next slide. We also wanted to call your attention to the fact that on May 24th at 3:30 p.m. in University Hall in Ruthven, they will be holding the OVPR Research Staff Recognition Awards. There will be a number of familiar faces receiving awards, so we hope to see you there. Next slide. Thank you so much, and I believe I'm turning it over to Kathy, I think.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thanks.
So now, as we begin to close out our time together, and we're well ahead of schedule, so the gift of time is always extra giving. But as we begin to close out our time together, we have one last short poll about your overall experience today with the RAN meeting. And so the poll is anonymous. Please let us know how relevant the content was today on a scale from 1 to 5. And we're going to hold here briefly to give everybody a chance to complete the poll. It has been wonderful to see the RAN numbers in terms of people participating and registering. And we really appreciate your gift of time to us to help broaden and extend and strengthen our community. So thank you. We are almost complete. It looks like we are done. Great. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Which is the last one. So to wrap up, I want to extend our thanks and appreciation to Jennifer, our MC, our other presenters, and the Communications Subcommittee for putting together another great RAN meeting. And again, I want to thank each of you for being here with us today. Please keep in touch on the forum on Slack and in our virtual networking sessions. As always, if you have ideas and suggestions or other feedback, please let us know at ran-plans@umich.edu. The link should be shared in the chat soon. And let's see, save the date for our next RAN meeting is Thursday, October 26th. And I'll leave you with a quote from Freeman Dyson. There is great satisfaction in building good tools for other people to use. And I think that's what our metrics committee has been doing. So thank you. Take care. Be well. Until next time.